All right, let's talk about Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool. This is a tie-in to Absolute Carnage, the event that's going on right now. So it's an event that I'm really into because I really like the idea of Carnage being like a big bad. They're putting him in like Avengers. It's a big company event, but not as big as that garbage War of the Realms was, where literally every book tied into it. You couldn't get away from War of the Realms. In many ways, it was a nice 2 months, because for 2 months I wasn't buying as many comics because that was like one event. I was like, I'm just not interested. Don't want to read it, so I didn't. But they literally tied it into every single book, so it was hard to get away from. If you didn't want to read any War of the Realms, you basically weren't reading your comics for a minute. This one's a little bit different. They're not putting it in every book, though there's a lot of tie-ins. You can get away from it if you don't want to read it. Whereas War of the Realms forced you, if you were reading Amazing Spider-Man, though they didn't tie it into Amazing Spider-Man. A good example is Superior Spider-Man and Venom, two books I like. Those were actually, issues, whatever, let's say 13 and 14 were direct War of the Realms tie-ins, whereas Amazing Spider-Man or even X-Men had their own separate books. So sometimes you could get away from it, sometimes you couldn't. This series, so far, you can get away from it unless you're reading Spider-Man books, in which case you're probably already into this anyway. So, by the way, there was a Liefeld cover for this that I really wanted. I went to 2 comic shops, I didn't see it. I'm surprised that it sold out so much. You'd think that would have been a standard variant, but whatever, it is what it is. As far as this issue goes, it starts off kind of funny. Spider-Man and Deadpool, who I guess have had a team-up book for a while that's pretty decent, that I haven't been reading because I buy enough Spider-Man comics. Starts off like Deadpool doesn't know when Spider-Man's birthday is, so he invites all the villains because he knows they know him, and this causes him to get fed up. And he's like, well, I'm just not going to hang out with you anymore until you get some therapy, which leads him to go to Ravencroft, where John Jameson is, who, if you remember in the first issue of Absolute Carnage, went there. Carnage went there and took the place over to, get Norman Osborn. And it's really cool. Like, this dude's dead at the start. He's just like at a computer, and Deadpool's talking like, "Hey, my man, yeah, I take breaks at work too," which was kind of funny. A lot funnier than most books have tried to be, where they try to do jokes. Some good Deadpool humor in here. Not much action though. So like, if I'm looking at this, like, is this book gonna get me in to the series? It didn't do a very good job, but I'm into the idea of Carnage and Deadpool fighting enough that I'm gonna read at least the second issue and see where it goes. So it's really interesting. He goes into this asylum with no weapons. He has no weapons on him, and he's like looking for something to do. So he goes to 2 microwaves, stuffs them full of metal, and throws them at the symbiotes, which causes a big explosion. And it was pretty slick too, because symbiotes and fire don't get along, so that causes a big fire. It was a pretty cool idea. Anyway, I just liked it. Maybe it's not that clever, but I did enjoy it. The issue itself, though, like I said, just ends with them wanting to hunt Deadpool. Other than that one cool scene with the microwaves, there's no other fighting. Of course, there's a lot of cringe humor because, a lot of the people that write these books are straight up NPCs, and they don't get humor. So it's just a lot of like really kind of sometimes boomerish cringe jokes that just don't land very well. What's really going to sell this book is how well they do the action between Deadpool and Carnage, and we didn't get to see any of that this issue. Hopefully, we'll get to see more of it in the next issue, but the way that these companies, particularly Marvel, not so much DC, do this is everything is, well, who am I kidding? DC does it too. Sorry. But it's all designed to sell for trade, so they're going to span it out. I bet you if this will be 4 or 5 issues, and we won't see a big showdown till issue 4 or 5. That's how it usually always is. But I'll stick it out, and I'll see if it's any good. The art was really good. I did like the art quite a bit. The story, that remains to be seen. But anyway, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, check out the links in the description, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.